Please join me in Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, here's the roll call.
Yes.
Todd Clemens.
Yes.
Erica Connor.
Yes.
Mary DeMore excused. Andy Mankey.
Yes.
Art Schneider.
Here.
Craig Verts.
Here.
I'm Jeff Vokel here. Jill Werner.
Here.
Cherry Winchowski. She will be a little late. This is a public meeting of the school board, has been properly posted. The meeting is subject to the open meeting laws of the state of Wisconsin. People will be able to find the minutes on our district website. Are there any citizens' comments?
No, none tonight.
Okay. Our first item will be a presentation by Big Bend Principal Sean Waller.
And heck of a dancer. Dancing with the Stars, when was that, in 2000?
That was my first year, 2011, 2010-11 school year.
And who beat you out in that competition?
I believe it was you.
I think Dr.
Chip-
Chuck Vento won it all.
I think you did.
I would have tripped over that girl, it'd been a whole different story.
So 4 people in this room done that? Dancing with the...
Yeah.
I know, Craig has,
I've done it.
There's several alumni in here.
I was asked,
Finished last.
I kept telling him I
I
felt like a
said no.
Clydesdale, and she was just waltzing along, and I felt like a Clydesdale out there, so.
Oh, there's a reason.
Yeah, I'm not a good
Sure,
dancer.
it's my partner
for
the
sure.
next year, and we did great.
But you look
That's
good.
why I said I'm a Clydesdale.
You've done it too, Andy?
I look the part?
You look good.
I appreciate it.
save crayons.
All right, so we had our theme this year was Road to Success, and we had a lot of fun with it. One of the things that we tried to do is we worked on our character education, tried to go that extra mile, and so we kept stressing that terminology, going the extra mile. What can you do to make the day a little bit better for your teachers, for your fellow classmates, and so that stuck with us all year. We also recognized students with the Top Dog Award, so each homeroom each month had to recruit, or actually the students had to vote on somebody that they thought was going above and beyond, going the extra mile, and was deserving of that Top Dog Award. So some of the highlights, Paul Kaczynski, one of our students, was able to, look at that, I thought I'd throw that in there for you, Jeff. He was able to announce the basketball game, the starting lineups for the boys game. I thought that was just a very symbolic thing that our school district and our community did, just to put them out there, and it was just a nice event. Definitely a highlight of our school year. One of our kindergartners, Lauren, was the featured weather person on Fox 6 this year. Zoe Eineichner, she actually won the state speech contest and is moving on to the national level. So she was second at Big Bend in the speech contest, moved on from the district level, and then won state. And so she made us proud winning that top award.
Wow.
The dark horse, so to speak.
She was.
Second place and
In our school and went on to win the whole state level. Andy Wagner, building manager, the whole community was rallying behind him as he was up for that top janitor of the year. And so he earned over 53,000 votes in that process.
also an assistant fire chief at the Quantico Firehouse.
Absolutely, yep.
Great
He's
team.
recognized around the community. He's a
Right.
good guy.
Yep.
A couple of fun field trips. We had a Bucks game fundraiser for our school and the Admirals game. We actually had one of our students come back and actually did a presentation for our students. And so Eric Bone came back and had a real good message along with Mr. Wiersbecki. End of the year party, just some pictures from that. Just kind of celebrated the end of the successful school year. We tried a dance for the first time, a glow dance, and that was a lot of fun. It was packed, it was hot, and we had our cafeteria and our gym being used, and
Everybody wants to go to Big Bend Elementary. You know that place?
we try to make it fun. We throw these events throughout the year. We have a fantastic PTO, and they do a lot of good things for our kids and our families. We ended our year with, on the second to the last day of school, with our color run, and you can see some pictures from that. We actually made the front page of the Freeman, but that was a trial. We thought we'd throw our end of the year party together with this color run, and we raised over $11,000 for our PTO, and we're going to try doing this instead of having those magazine orders and the pizza orders. We're just going to do this, and it's kind of tying the fitness with celebration. I want to thank Delsman Transportation too, because that was a hot day, and they said that we could take leaf blowers and all that color starch would go right off the kids, and actually it stuck to them. And so I know with the middle schoolers and the high school, if they have shaving cream, Craig, you probably can attest to this.
Oh, yeah.
They will not let you on the bus if you're full of shaving cream. They actually let our kids go on the bus, and I think with minimal damage to the buses. So I appreciate them letting our 400 students ride home, probably 300 or so
Tom, can
students
you
ride
take care
home.
of that thank you note to Delsman Transport? Thank you.
So thank you, Alan, Sarah, and the rest of Delsman. We had some grants that we received. Actually, we took second place in the book fair contest again this year, so we got a nice check from Scholastic. You can see Andy Wagner, he received a personal check of $500. He tried cashing that. They would not take that one at the bank. Jeff Grant actually earned $2,500 from the American Farmers Grow Communities, and from that money, we bought new rectangular glass backboards, and we're taking the existing fan-shaped ones and moving them into the cafeteria. Our community uses our gym and our cafeteria frequently, so we're going to get that for all our staff. I think that's kind of the summary. We survived the dab, the bottle flipping, and the fidget spinners this year. That was kind of a little humor there. As far as the school report card, some of the data I'll take you through. You can see over time we've kind of hovered in the upper 70s, low 80s marks, and we had the highest, last summer we received the highest score that we've had in the last few years. So just on the knocking on that door of the highest exceeding expectations, significantly exceeding expectations. You need an 83.0 to get that top tier. If you look at our reading scores from STAR data in the fall, if you look at the benchmark, which is the 40th percentile line, 65% of our kids in the fall were above that benchmark, and in the spring, 71%. Modest gains, we've done better in previous years, but shows a little bit of growth there. One of the things that I wanted to point out with the reading, and that's been an emphasis for us, is there are 4 different tiers of where students will fall after they take that test. And there's the bottom tier is urgent interventions, and then the second to the bottom is interventions. And those basically are the kids that are falling below the 25th percentile line, give or take. But we had 62 students in the fall, and we moved several of our students, 28 of our students, actually moved up into the top 2 tiers. So 34 students in the springtime. That's something that I think we should be proud of. For math, we started high and we finished a little bit higher, 82% to 84%. And we actually only moved 3 kids from the bottom 2 tiers to the top 2 tiers. So 28 students in the fall, 25 in the spring. I'm going to show you a quick video here that kind of shows you how we ended our school year.
So that's starch?
1,000 views.
So it's cornstarch, and apparently it blows off with leaf blowers, but it didn't really work because it all stuck. They're all sweaty after a
Unless they're
day of
sweaty, yeah.
being
But
outside.
they were
and-
excited. You could tell they were excited.
Yeah, it was definitely a blast. I thought I was going to get a ton of complaints from parents, and everyone just said, what a cool way to end the school year. And so we didn't have any complaints from parents. Apparently it washed right off the clothes, and so it was a good way to end the school year. But one of the things I just wanted to talk about with the data too, one of the things that we're going to try to improve on is we've always hit the bottom, I'd say 20% of our students with our resources, with our title support, with our Read 180. We're going to restructure things a little bit differently this upcoming school year. In special education, we talk about pulling students out into a classroom and working with them individually. We've done that with our Read 180. We've exhausted a lot of our resources by doing so. We're actually going to push our special ed staff, teachers and assistants into the classroom a little bit more this year and try to hit some of those students that are at the 25th percentile to the 60th percentile and see if we can get them moving across that proficiency line, because I think oftentimes those are the kids that are falling through the cracks. And so by pushing in, we can have support for those special ed students, but then the ones that sit around them, we can give them some support that they would need too. So I think we're going to see some success from that, but we've seen tremendous gains with our students in the lower 20% range, but we know that we need to address those other kids as well. So I think I'll be interested to look at the data at the end of the year next year. Any questions for me on anything?
What kind of challenges do you feel? I mean, you mentioned that one you just said, but I mean, anything you don't have that you would like to have, or that's keeping you from where you think you can go?
I think, the 4K program has been very helpful. I think, that was a huge thing, just getting those kids and leveling the playing field for a lot of our students by the time they step foot in kindergarten. I think that's gonna help. We're gonna see, hopefully some data that supports that. I think the amount of time that we're spending on the new reading curriculum with the new changes that our staff is excited. Hopefully we'll see as much success in reading as we have in math in our district. So that's another thing. Summer school, we had 80 students in summer school, a little bit down compared to last year. We had 110 last year. So just getting those kids, closing that summer gap, the summer slide, I think is important. But as far as resources, things like that, the reading interventionist, I think is going to be huge for us this year and across the district, just that extra support.
Sean, it seems like the Big Bend area, which I'm born and raised Big Bend, and it seems like they're a little further away from McQuantigo than the Claridens, the Rolling Hills, and we even noticed the numbers in football aren't as good from Big Bend compared to. Is it just because they're the distance, or they just don't feel like they're as much part as they should be? It's better. It's way better than it was.
Yeah, and I don't see that too much. I know, like in the summertime with baseball teams, we have a lot of our kids that are in the Waukesha teams, and they kind of go a little bit more east and north. But as far as I feel that our district has done a pretty good job, and I think social media has helped too, district-wide, just trying to spread the word of the different things that are going on. I don't feel that way in Big Bend, that we're
Yeah, not anymore. It kind of used to be that way, though.
like an
you know?
ugly
Yeah.
stepchild or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But I don't feel that at all.
Where do you see the individualized learning going in your school? I mean, what is long range? Where are you at right now?
So we have two classrooms that have personalized learning. We have a 5th grade PLT, we call it personalized learning team, and then a 6th grade, and they work together. The whole idea was to try to bring that into our building and have it be a springboard for the other classrooms. I think we've been successful in doing that. We've done a lot of things in reading and math that are pushing students at their ability level, and I think it's been contagious throughout the building. Definitely would I like to see more of that now that we have more technology in the building. We could. It is something that we'd have to adjust with the scheduling, different ways you can do it, but I think that within the classroom, each individual classroom, we're doing a lot of pretty cool things, and then during some of the reading blocks and the RTI time, we're doing some things that are trying to push all the kids.
Well, are you looking at something in the future, or just hoping it's going to happen on its own, or are you?
Yeah, I'd
trying
like
to put
I'd like to
together a
see
plan?
more of it, especially in the upper grades. I'd like to see, now that the middle school has spent a lot of time getting ready for personalized learning, I think, you can say it's going to be trickling down, or in our case, maybe trickling up to the middle school. But
Yeah.
I'd like to see more of that. At this time, I want to be cautious. I know some neighboring school districts have tried to ram this down staff's throats, and I don't
Right,
think that's
right.
the best way to do it. But I think over time, this is the way education is moving, and I think a lot of our staff are buying into it.
Right, and that's why we went with that, but I'd really like to see, your thoughts. You were one of the strongest advocates for that in our district, and, I'd like to see what you would like to see in your building, in the future.
Yeah, the next step
I know what these guys, I can talk to these guys all the time. I
Yeah,
want
the
to
next
know.
thing that I'd like to see is I'd like to see doing something with our 3rd and 4th grade and just kind of moving down 2 grade levels. And that would definitely be in the 5-year plan, probably 3-year plan.
I mean, I'd hope that you'd put something together
Sure.
soon on that, and, just
Mhm.
so we know as a board.
My ultimate goal is, we call it personalized learning, but I think the way it's moving, it's just what we should be doing, and it shouldn't be something
Right.
where we have to recruit kids into the personalized learning classrooms. We should be doing this across the board anyway. And so I feel I'm a little cautious in saying that we have a separate personalized learning and we have our traditional classrooms. Those are merging together at a rapid pace, and I feel that when you label something as personalized learning, that's great, it looks great, but I think we're doing a lot of things, and it's not technically a personalized learning classroom, but it's got all the elements of a personalized learning classroom.
So I think I've said to the board before, I don't envision us ever adopting another curriculum in any subject area that doesn't have elements of personalized learning in it. And so certainly 3rd grade through 8th grade, language arts, reading workshop, writing workshop is personalized learning. So at a much higher level than our previous curriculum was based around, and certainly more widespread. So that's going to be in every classroom. So I totally agree with Sean, and we've had those conversations around the admin table that it should, personalized learning, just like RTI, should just become a part of what we do. We respond to students who need it. We differentiate for students who need it. That's just a part of teaching now.
Anybody else?
Just curious about the America's Farmers Grow Communities Award. What was required for that, or how did that come about?
So what happened is we have a Friday morning basketball. It's a bunch of adults that come in and play basketball, and one of them said, you know what, I work, or I know I have a connection with this Grant, and because they play basketball, and Mr. Grant, our Phi Ed teacher, actually plays with them, could you guys use the money? And he said, of course we could. And so we were able to get connected with that grant because of that.
American Farmers Grow Communities.
Monsanto funds is what it's called.
Yeah, but for playing basketball.
Mhm.
Awesome, okay.
You're not the only farmer in Big Bend, Erica. You know that.
I do know that. I'm not a fan of Monsanto, which is why when I saw the name, I was curious as to what was required for such a grant. And if it's just basketball, game on.
They're gonna invite you to that basketball game next year.
Do it.
Anybody else?
I
Jerry?
stopped over at your art fair, and it was really nice.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Mrs. Credible does a wonderful job.
Yeah.
It was unique.
Thank you for inviting,
Not
have to
fun.
include him, but art night, a career day, you know.
Appreciate
I
you
had a blast.
stopping, expanding horizons. Yeah, that was,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and the art fair was really, you guys do such a good job on that
Thank
every
you.
year.
she ties the theme to it every year and adds a lot of technology. Kids get excited.
Are you making a lot of use out of the 3D printer in the library?
That thing is going off continuously. I'm thinking that it's got to get a little bit quicker. It's on all night long, and I know Mrs. Brutz in the library typically has to talk over the top of it. Hopefully, we can get a new one that's a little bit more efficient and less noisy.
Oh.
But it's great. Yeah, the kids all
Yeah,
made like
they seem to like.
suitcase tags and some other built with architecture. They built homes. Kind of neat.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Sean.
All right, thank you.
Well done, Sean.
All right, the next item on the agenda is our consent agenda, approval of board minutes of June 12th, 2017, and approval of vouchers numbers 113007 to 113220 in funds 10, 21, 23, 27, 41, 45, 49, 50, 72, and 80, totaling $3,670,000 and change. Is there any questions about that? Okay. On to the action items. Resignations, retirements, and appointments.
So you have a revised listing of teacher resignations and appointments at your table tonight. We have 4 resignations: Rachel Faust, special education at Parkview; Sarah Johnson, health sciences or health occupations at McWanago High School; Jill Ruland from the IPLC at Section; Marie Van Maastricht, general music and band at Prairie View. And then 2 appointments, Andrea Kosea, early childhood for Clarendon, and Sarah Oftedal, a part-time orchestra position that we're adding because we've increased the number of students in orchestra and need some additional staffing.
Are we replacing the health science high school?
Yeah, it's posted right now on Weekend, and we're
Did that just
Starting-
come out of nowhere on her?
so Sarah Johnson recently completed her master's degree in school counseling,
Yeah,
and so she's pursuing
Oh.
positions as a school counselor.
she was good.
Yeah, so we wish her the best in a new position as a counselor, but means that we have to find a
Yeah.
face teacher, which isn't super easy.
Anybody else?
Do we have a partnership, don't we have in that health services partnership with WCTC? So there's some, I don't say higher level, but classes that are, what are they called?
Transcripted
Mhm,
credit,
mhm.
yeah. So there are medical terminology, introduction to healthcare professions. Some of those are transcripted with WCTC. There are some additional requirements, background requirements of teachers who teach those transcripted credit courses, but we do have a window in which to get the person up to the level that WCTC wants them to have, which is typically additional coursework. It's very academic, so it's typically additional coursework in that subject area. So most of our teachers have a bachelor's or master's degree in teaching, not necessarily a bachelor's or master's degree in health sciences. And so WCTC, that switches, right? So most of their teachers would have an actual degree in nursing or in a healthcare related field. So we have to bridge that gap sometimes.
So do we sometimes compensate for that so that they can get where they need to go in order?
Yeah, so we're not necessarily bound to hire somebody right off the bat that has all of the qualifications for WCTC. We can put a plan together of professional development and get them to that point.
And then do we sometimes balance that out for them as an incentive to come with us? You know what I'm saying? Because that would cost them money.
Oh, right. No, we would typically pay for the training.
Okay, that's what I meant.
We would typically pay for the training.
I would like to make a motion, we accept these resignations and appointments.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Who should we give that credit?
Don't give it to him.
Yeah. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
All right, and then on page 7, we have one additional appointment. We have an administrative appointment for the Director of Human Resources role. We're bringing to you tonight Susan Minter. Susan is a Waterford resident who has worked the last 15 years at the Pewaukee School District, and I've known her for the last 3 years in this human resources role, and I am really happy with the prospect of bringing her on board. She, as you can see from her resume, she's extremely well qualified for this position, and she's going to really help us create a lot of the human resource systems and processes, procedures that we need, not really having someone dedicated to that role in the past. So I think this is a great hire for us.
But she had some business background as well.
Right, some private sector
Yeah,
business,
yeah.
human resource experience.
So,
It-
go ahead. Somebody else?
I was just going to make a motion that we approve her.
A second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Okay, I just had a question regarding the
Splitting.
communication end of things. Where is that?
Yeah, so, and Tom can chime in too, we went through the initial posting process with this, a combined human resource and communications position. And we were really asking 3 things of these candidates, right? We wanted them to be able to roll up their sleeves and do communications work, actual writing of press releases and managing social media and all those kinds of things. And we also wanted them to be able to dig in and complete the day-to-day operational human resource tasks like approving leave and managing the employee handbook and all those kinds of things. And then on top of it, we wanted them to provide strategic HR leadership, right? We want them to put together a compensation plan. We want them to manage the performance of our employees and assist our principals with supervising our staff. And so finding someone that can do all 3 of those turned out to be, and we wondered going into it, turned out to be a difficult thing. So when we discussed what would be most appropriate to peel away, it seemed like it was most appropriate to peel away the communications and reallocate that internally. So we're discussing exactly how to do that, but I'm guessing that a lot of that will fall to Ben Casso, with maybe a few things like the triad. You know, Julie and I were the ones that started that, so I may perhaps continue to assist with the triad more. But we'll work that out internally. We definitely heard from you, and we believe too that we can't go backwards in the communications area.
Yeah, that's
You
my
kn-
question too.
Yeah, and we have a lot of great students, and DECA is someone that they look into the promotion of businesses and things like that.
Mhm.
It might be,
Right, and once
something
we-
to be a project, for one of those groups or, classes to,
And as we
police our websites or whatever.
As we look to develop the, I don't know what the right word, the digital imaging or graphic design
Right.
strand of the IT Academy, which we've talked about for the last
Right.
year or so. Perhaps there are students from the IT Academy that are interested in that strand that would be able to assist
Sure they
too.
would.
But, yeah, we're definitely mindful of that.
Any other?
I would just like to add on to Art's comment that I think we do a pretty good job of communication, and I think it's a real key responsibility of us to make sure that we are supporting good communication to the community, and I don't want us to fall short of that. So I think
Absolutely.
it's important that we set some guidelines as we, separate this. It's not a dedicated position. I realize we probably can't support that, but
Right.
I think I would like to, see where's the job description, where's the top 5 things that, and who's gonna do them, and that we monitor them throughout the year rather than,
Yeah.
so it doesn't slip away.
Yeah, so
Yes.
Julie's role is split right now anyway, right? So, she currently does the instructional technology piece and the communications. So, that's the difficulty right now because, we're not staffing it full-time, but yet it's significant enough that it takes a chunk of someone's time. So we're,
And it's always changing, so you need
Mhm.
someone who can stay abreast of the technology changes and be current.
Well, I also agree with Jill and Art. It's something I feel strongly about, so let's,
absolutely duly noted.
okay. So,
So, yeah.
motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we're on to item 2, policy approval of 2110, statement of philosophy, and 2131, educational outcome goals.
So what we're looking for on pages 10 and 11 of your packet is essentially your consent to eliminate policy 2131, which was educational outcome goals, and approve the consolidated policy 2110, which I shared with you at the last meeting and is reprinted on page 11.
Any questions regarding that? We kind of went over that last meeting. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Andy. Is there a second?
Second.
Jill seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay.
All right, thanks.
Life insurance and long, thanks, Nick. Life insurance and long-term disability proposals.
All right, and on page 12, I have an update for you. We talked about this at the June 12th meeting, so I'm bringing this back to you for your final approval. We're looking to go with Madison National Life. They've been able to match our life insurance rates and our LTD rates. I actually drop our LTD rates such that we'll save almost $28,000 each year for 3 years over where we would be going in 17-18 had we stayed with the standards.
Great.
Okay, so this is something that benefits our active workforce. Chair, we looked at the request you made last time about mental health requests. It's currently limited at 2 years, and if we open the cap on that to extend it further, extend it longer, or just get rid of the deadline of that, in a way, you're almost inviting people to say, I can get out of work indefinitely and get paid for it. So it's, in a way, it just prices, removing that 2-year deadline would blow the top off what we're actually paying now. So we're just in line with industry standards, and we're meeting what other districts are doing. So we did take a look at that. It just wasn't something financially feasible.
Okay.
Be great if we could do it, but. So are there any questions for anybody here?
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Art. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, on to number 4, teachers on call contract.
So we're looking to, on page 13, is a memo I created, pages 14 through 16 is the contract itself. Again, we talked about this at the last meeting. This is pretty standard contract that all districts operate with. So if we want to work with teachers on call, this is something that we need to make an agreement with here as we move forward for the 17-18 and 18-19 school years.
I'm just curious, just in general terms, are we happy with the service from teachers on call? Are there any parts of it that we would like to see improved upon?
Yeah, I think we've been pretty satisfied. It is it's a staffing service that removes a significant burden to the school district by contracting with them. So if we had to go back to having a substitute coordinator, it's different times now than it was when we did have a sub coordinator who made all the calls themselves. And so certainly I think it exposes us to a larger pool of candidates to sub for our support staff and our teacher positions. And it's at a decent rate. I mean, certainly I wish the rates were a little bit lower. I think everybody does. But in terms of managing the Affordable Care Act requirements, managing insurance qualification, really with the subs being employees of Teachers on Call, it really gives us wide latitude to tell Teachers on Call, this sub isn't working out for us, don't send them here anymore.
Send them to Arrowhead.
Whereas if they were our employees, we'd be going through that whole human resource process to, lay somebody off or to let them go. So there's certainly a lot of overhead and a lot of HR processes that contracting with TOC eliminates for us. So we've been satisfied.
Nick,
Couple
how
of
many-
issues.
How many other, is there competition for this service they provide? Is there 5 other Teachers on Call companies that want to work with us?
No, there are maybe 1 or 2 others that service Wisconsin. It's not a huge field. There are some districts that operate it internally. So I think Oconomowoc and Waukesha might still operate their substitutes internally. But otherwise, a significant portion utilize TOC.
Anything else? Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve.
motion approved, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Erica. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Am I to,
We
item
can
5
hold off
goes
on-
into closed session?
Yeah, we'll take that to closed session,
Okay.
correct?
All right. Item 6, transfer to Fund 73.
Okay, so as we got down here to the back end and the home stretch of our current fiscal year, we're taking a look at how we look financially speaking. And things look pretty good for a lot of reasons we've reiterated several times throughout the last 2 or 3 months here. So what I'm looking for tonight is just a follow-up again from our June 12th conversation to transfer the actuarially determined contribution. Where we are to date is we've contributed $653,000 to that. We cut off contributions shortly after November. Okay, once we got our actuarial report, we looked to see how the year end came about, and we're in a good spot. So if we put another $437,000 in there, we could say we're fully funded. Not too many districts can say that, and I'd like to meet the ones who are. We might be one of very few who can say that we're taking care of our debts, we're putting our money aside as we need to. So this would put us at the 100% mark. On an ongoing basis, then we would put about $450,000 for the 17-18 budget, and that's how I've built it in 18-19. So we can always say our debts are prepaid, we're ready to go when they come due.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion, we go forward with his recommendation.
I second
Motion
it.
made by Art, seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. On to committee reports. Finance and Facilities Committee project update.
All right, so on page 19, Kurt Weebelhaus prepared a memo there for you to talk about the progress that's being made here over the last 2 weeks here and where we're at right now, where we're about to go here over the next few weeks as well. Kurt also had an extra handout here that was put at your desk there with some colored pictures and whatnot on it. So you can almost say that thing speaks for itself when you do a drive-by and you see the precast walls are getting put up. Things are progressing nicely. It's moving in the right direction.
My son wants to know where the moat is.
I'll make sure Kurt
castle.
follows up with him.
And the drawbridge?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When were we talking about having a tour? We were
Sean
talking
said
about a
August.
meeting.
August, I think
August?
it was,
Okay.
yeah.
that's good. No, I'm just excited and looking forward to that, so
Great.
I wanna make sure I
So
make
it's,
that
it's on
meeting.
schedule
Yeah.
at least, or?
Yeah.
Okay, great,
Cause I miss meetings, yeah.
okay. Good. Any other questions to pass along to Kurt? Okay, all righty. And then, the fund balance proposal.
Okay, here we go, on page 20 then. This is following up again what we talked about last June 12th, our last meeting here. So, given that we ended the 15-16 fiscal year with a 27.3% fund balance in Fund 10, the assumption I'm operating on at this point is that we don't want to add any more money to that. Our current range is 15 to 25%, so we're even slightly higher there. I don't think putting money into our bank accounts without having a purpose for it is what we want to do here. So that's the message I'm taking from the board here right now. So as we close down this school year, and we already considered the Fund 73 transfer that we just approved a few moments ago, by my calculation, we'll have another $1.1 million that we'll be able to transfer, and I recommend that we transfer that to Fund 46. So I know we talk a lot about these different funds. Anytime we talk about a fund in the 40s, we're talking about buildings and anything related to buildings. What this would do, this transfer would take this 1.1 million and it essentially prepays 1.1 million worth of expenditures that we would have down the road. So that's what I'm recommending at this time. I think it fits in with what we're considering as we kind of put some vision onto our game plan. If we look to do things at the middle school or any type of building renovations whatsoever, that money will be used in some way, shape, or form, be it roofs or whatnot. So again, this is parlaying our short-term fiscal health into long-term fiscal
Health.
yeah, exactly. So what I'm looking to do here right now is that between now and even when the finance facility meets on July 10th for the committee meeting, I'll give that committee another update to see if anything changes here. There are some things that could change that, and if it does change, I anticipate that number even moving a little bit higher. And then I'll make my final recommendation to you on July 24th, but as of right now, that's the number is 1.1 million transferring to Fund 46.
Cool.
Okay?
That transfer puts us at what percentage in fund balance?
So that would keep us at
Keep
where
us
we
at the
currently
27?
are, yeah.
Okay.
Now, we could transfer more, Erica, if you want to take it down to
Go down to
25, correct.
Any other questions? Okay.
Okay.
On to the budget update.
We're opposite of that. We're doing good there.
Transportation contract?
Oh, so no, we'll go to the 17-18 budget update. So I'm going to give everybody, at your desks, you have a document I gave you. It's 3 pages. It's got orange, yellow, and green on it. I'll pull it up on the screen here as well. All right, a lot of data on there, so I know you, Craig, you gotta get your readers out. All right, so I'll just kind of take us through this here. So we kind of take a look as to what will the tax levy look like as we finally settle that come October. Okay, so recently, just over the weekend now, some information came out on WIS Politics, and they are commenting through sources that they have about information that's coming out of the GOP Finance Committee. So I took the information that was shared there and I built what I'm sharing with you right now. And this information just came out really within the last couple of days. So knowing that the GOP controls the Assembly and the Senate, ultimately what they decide on is what, there's a good probability that that happens there. So on the first sheet there that we're talking about there with the yellow, orange, and green, I'm going to take us through 3 scenarios there. So I use 2016-17 as our fiscal year baseline here. Okay, so if you're looking at my screen, I got that highlighted there. And this is what we looked like last year. We were able to collect between equalization aid and our local property tax $9,200 per kid. And what that means is that we taxed our citizens just north of $28 million. Okay, that worked out to be an $8.82 mill rate. Okay. And I used, we talked about this at the last meeting here. We wanted to know what is that impact on a $300,000 house. So I have that up there. So that's the K-12 portion of it. If there's more to it, it would come from town of McGuanago or the village of Big Bend or whatever municipality. So there's some other taxes that come in there. So that's not inclusive of everything, just the K-12 portion of that. So going back here, then I take us through 3 scenarios, and those 3 scenarios, if you look at that blue arrow, that's what's changing, the blue arrow on the left. We have a $9,200 revenue limit amount. The information that's coming up out of the information I'm working with right now has that number moving up to $9,300. That's in orange, and then in the final green row, that's $9,800. We heard that number from the State Assembly as in terms of increasing what that would look like here, okay? Here you can see then we have the amount of taxes that we would collect from our community. Okay, so the yellow row, we're looking at 27.9 million. The orange at $9,300 per student will allow us to collect 28.3 million. And if that number jumped up to $9,800, we would be able to collect up to $30.6 million from our community. You can see the percentage increase. The yellow would actually represent a decrease of 0.5%. The orange and the yellow scenarios, when you increase that revenue limit amount, that's going to push taxes further north. So the $9,800 would correspond to a district-wide 9.4% increase, okay? Taking a look at the mill rate then, the mill rate, that's the amount you get taxed per $1,000 of your home value. We would go from the baseline last year was $882, drop down to $860 in the first scenario, up to $875, which is still south of what last year's was, but if we pushed our revenue limit up to $9,800, we'd be at $9.46 per $1,000 of house value.
Where would that have fallen historically? I mean,
For us,
you're right.
well, we've never been north of $9,200.
No, the mill rate.
I'd have to dig back to see what our mill rates were in the past. That would lead me to believe, though, that'd be higher. But I'd have to go back to the 2011-12 school year when our population peaked. The more students you have, the more taxes you can collect because you're getting X amount per student. When your number of students is high,
Yeah.
the tax
I
levy's high.
think it was higher at one.
So I'd have to look
I'd
back
just
at
be
that.
Curious, just for historical.
Sure, sure.
reference.
So as we look at the projected K-12 taxes on a $300,000 house, the yellow scenario would be a decrease of $66 per house. The orange scenario would be a decrease of $21 per house. While that, when it goes to $9,800, that is significant now, and I don't see that's not likely to happen. So again, I'm just answering questions from last meeting. That would push taxes $192 higher than what last year's was. Off to the very far right-hand side then, we're talking about categorical aids, and this is kind of a separate conversation. This is money that comes to us that doesn't affect taxes in any way, shape, or form. So as these categorical aids this past year, in 16-17, we were given $250 per student. And the very far right column, I talk about what our fund balance position would be given those scenarios there. Okay, so our fund balance overall is, as I take a look at what our staffing levels currently are today, everything's budgeted for. We still have a few things we need to settle, like bus transportation, other things, but this would show how much fund balance, how much leeway we would have to settle teacher contracts, to make new hires, to do whatever it is that we need to do in this district. So obviously you can see if we push our revenue limit north to $9,800, that would give us a lot of financial flexibility. But again, I don't think that scenario is very likely. So let's go to what is more likely. Let's go to that second page. That is blue and gray. So, and I have 2 scenarios here again, but I just got rid of the $9,800 because, well, that's going to push property taxes very high, and I don't think the current administration is even entertaining that idea. All right, so the 2 scenarios again that we have, we're looking at a $9,200 per student and a $9,300 per student revenue limit. Okay. So along with this, the only thing that's really changing right now is off to the far right-hand side is that currently what's being proposed by Governor Walker and other members of the GOP are starting to state their support for this is $450 categorical aids per student. Again, this money does not change taxes in any way, shape, or form. This is just money that we can work with here in the district. So you can see our fund balance position at $450 per student, and the $9,200 revenue limit would give us $996,000. And if we had $9,300 per student, along with the $450 categorical aids, that would put us at $1.4 million. So that number seems like a lot. When we start to discuss teachers' salaries here shortly tonight, we'll see how would we afford the salary increases in the various ranges that we'll talk about in just a little bit. Okay. So right now, what I think currently is most likely to happen is the blue scenario that you see there. What I'm reading right now is that there is a general framework agreed upon by the GOP Finance Committee that would allow for a $9,300 per member revenue limit amount along with $450 categorical aids for 17-18. Okay? Any questions on any of that stuff?
I have-
So, I'm
Oh,
sorry, Sharon,
sorry,
go ahead.
I didn't hear
Go ahead.
you.
Go ahead, Sherry.
So the revenue cap, that's where this 93 would, that's where they would try to adjust some for somebody a little bit? Is that what we're looking at?
Yes, so that's the minimum amount that we can tax for each of our students. So that wouldn't impact a district that's already collecting $11,200 per student. If you're under $9,300, this proposal would just raise those school districts that are under $9,300 currently, and we're one of a few that are right now at $9,200. Again, that $9,200 currently puts us in the lowest 3% of the entire state, mostly with schools that are in northwestern
And that
rural
was the
parts.
cap. And that was that revenue cap from whatever. 12
Sure,
years ago, right? That
correct.
was 20 years ago or whatever it
Correct,
was.
yep. So the current minimum that all school districts are not allowed to go under is $9,100. Okay? They're saying that $9,100 will now become $9,300
Okay.
and will then increase $100 a year until school districts reach $9,800. So really, it'd be $9,300 in the 17-18 year, $9,400 the following year, $9,500 the year after, to get those districts to get closer to the average, which is in the about $10,400, $10,500 range.
Okay.
Okay? So that's a decision that's made by the people that came in here, the assembly people, the state senators, the governor. That decision will come from them. So that's really not even a controlling aspect of what we're doing in this room right now.
So the schools that are currently at the average or above would not see $100 a year? Okay,
No, they wouldn't.
got it.
They would see the categorical aids come their way. So there's two things going on positively for our financial outlook. One is the revenue limit coming up. That only helps the lowest districts. The $450 per student helps every district.
So at some level, for those districts that have been high for all these years, they then will not be able to go any higher? You know what how is it gonna, I'm trying to understand how this is
Sure.
gonna balance out, like you said, it was gradual, because they were upset because all of a sudden they would have.
Right. So typically what they've done in years past and for the last several decades is that every school district, whatever your revenue limit is, increase it by $250 per student, increase it by $100 per student, and that's just to keep up with inflation. This proposal is everybody, if you're north of $9,300, we're not letting you increase it. If you're under $9,300, you can play catch up. So this is a move to allow for those who have been fiscally conservative for 24 years. We'll let you catch up and get some more money. Everybody else is going to stay frozen. Okay, does that make sense?
I think that was the question.
Okay. All right, so I gave it my best guess here on the last page there. If you want to flip to that last page, we're really just working down to one scenario here. Again, it really seems that $9,300 is the scenario that's going to play out. And here what happens ultimately is that we take that last scenario we just discussed of $9,300 per student and $450 of categorical aid. As that $9,200 becomes $9,300, that increases the school board's tax levying authority. You can collect up to $9,300 per student. What's nice is that when you multiply $9,300 by the number of students we have, state government would typically give us about $19 million per year. But they say, we helped you raise your revenue limits $500,000. We'll increase your equalization $500,000 so you don't have to get that money from your taxpayers. I think ultimately that is the best case scenario right now, is that our revenue limit gets increased and equalization aid is going to be the way that that gets funded. It'll keep taxes stable or even lower than what they were last year, and we'll still have more operating room to accomplish the goals of the district.
So that explains the difference between the blue line on page 2
Yes.
and the red, whatever you want to call that line on page 3.
Yeah, we'll call it fuchsia.
Chartreuse.
So what we're seeing there is that
Color
last,
blind men.
if I could just draw your attention here right now, the district-wide tax levy, last year was $28,040,000. This coming year projected to be $27,900,000. So that would be a 0.5% decrease. The mill rate would go from 882 down to 860, which is a 2.5% decrease. And the bottom line is taxes would go down. We would get more money and taxes would fall at the same time. It's a great thing right there for the district. So that puts us off to the far right. You can see that it would give us a fund balance position of 1.4 million to, again, accomplish the goals of the district, be it added new positions, increase the wages of the existing staff, and go from there. So that's where we are.
Does it seem like that categorical aid will stay?
Yeah, it's actually proposed to go up to $650 in 1819. So categorical aids can come and go. They can put them into the budget, they can take them out of the budget. It's nice when they give you that money through the revenue limit because then it's there to stay. It's kind of your baseline scenario that's not going to get smaller. Categorical aids, I guess I'd be surprised if they did shrink though, because here's this money, build the staff and build the district around this amount of money, and then 2 years we're going to take it from you, which puts you in a position of perhaps laying people off or cutting programs. So I would imagine that any administration would intend to keep that money there so you can come to expect that money, but you never know.
Right.
Okay.
Anything else?
So if anybody around town asks questions, we expect the tax levy to go down from what it was last year. If there's one takeaway, that's what I'd share with you right now. Okay?
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. And then finally, the 17-18 transportation contract.
So we'll talk about that in closed session as well.
Okay.
And take it up there.
Okay. Items G, unfinished business. Any board member questions? Okay. Citizens' comments, none. We have,
I'd
Motion
like
move
to
to
make a
executive
motion
session.
to move into executive session.
Second?
seconded by Erica.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Todd? Erica?
Yes.
Mary, not here. Andy?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Sherry, yes.
Shut down. Everything's shut down.